I strongly believe that Americans must unite against political violence in the United States, whether that political violence is perpetrated by individuals, extremists, or by state-sanctioned agencies, and no matter which political party is being targeted or is doing the targeting. Hi, my name is Katrina Gaiman, and I am a conflict analyst with a vision for inspiring peace. My master's is in conflict transformation. I have experience with living and working in different communities in the United States and around the world. I'm originally from the Midwest, from an evangelical Christian community. I've traveled in over 40 countries. I have consulted with the military, worked in the peace and justice field. So I understand a lot of perspectives of the current situation unfolding in the United States. The year 2025 saw a rise in political violence in the United States. People on both sides of the aisle have been shot and killed, with reports of over 150 instances in the first half of the year alone, not to mention thousands more politically motivated threats. Prominent examples include the assassinations of Minnesota legislator Melissa Hartman, political influencer Charlie Kirk, and more recently, the fatal shooting of Renee Good by ICE, investigations ongoing. Others have been detained in detention centers without due process, subject to conditions that Amnesty International calls degrading treatment. Americans have become desensitized to the violence, immediately justifying untimely deaths by blaming their political views or their immigration status. Their tragic deaths turned into political weapons instead of a wake-up call for our government's leaders and people to stop using violence to settle our disagreements. Our children are watching. Last year in the United States, there were 425 mass shootings, 233 school shootings, while our culture merely blinked, pretending that violence is inevitable. It is not. Violence can grow like a fire, words of hate adding fuel to the flames. And this just barely touches the surface of physical violence. There's so much structural violence in our systems that is keeping people in poverty. People on both sides of the aisle are suffering from significant long-term unemployment and an uncertain job market, impossible prices for food and healthcare, rising housing costs and lack of housing, exacerbated by racism, sexism, and accessibility barriers. These are valid concerns, and we need real change in this country to address these challenges. But disagreeing about how to solve these problems does not make any of us less worthy of safety in the pursuit of our lives. When will we stop asking, who has the right to belong and who can I blame all my problems on, and instead start asking, how can we see and support our neighbors who are also suffering? And better yet, how can we unite as neighbors regardless of our political differences to create change in our communities and to demand change from our government? I do not believe the same things I did when I was 18. And I imagine that if I ever turn 80, I will not think the same exact way as I think now. But one thing has stayed consistent in my perspective, and that is that I deeply believe in the inherent value and worth of each human being. The inherent dignity of each person is what ties our society together, is what weaves the threads of our social cohesion. And when we start doubting the value of our neighbors, when we don't give each other the benefit of the doubt, when we don't acknowledge the stories and struggles that mark each of our lives, we are ripping that social fabric. Violence doesn't come out of nowhere. Violence starts when we degrade and dehumanize each other in our hearts. Do we need systemic change? Of course. But you know what you can do today? You can pay attention to how you are looking at your neighbors. Today, this week, this month, and this year, to honor the legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and his powerful nation-changing and nation-confronting nonviolent protest, humanize your neighbor. Do not let the strength of your cause bring such a fog over your eyes that you do not see the humanity in another. And so I implore you, start there. Find humanity in each other. Let's unite as a people and stand up for our rights. To due process, to freedom of assembly, speech, and civic debate, to build a world without violence and hate. Can we at least agree on that? Thank you.